The White House operator answers the phone, and Daddy King says, "Hi, this is Martin Luther King Sr. Is the president busy?" White House operator says, "Yes, sir, the president's very busy." And he said, "All right, well, have him call me back in 20 minutes. So the story goes, about 18 minutes later, the phone rings. "It's President Carter, is this Daddy King? How are you? I heard you called." Now, Reverend Warnock wasn't sure if that was true or not, but I asked my grandfather, he said, "Probably." I'll just make one last comment there. I was thinking hard, as I said, over the last little while, and I spoke, Andrea, to your father the other day, and we were talking about the politics that my grandfather was discussing in that video about what happens in South America when he was the president, and what Andrew Young, who was a crucial part of his foreign policy as the ambassador to the United Nations, said, is that he calls it the politics of respect. And I think that this idea really bonds these two men. In addition to all of the things that my grandfather said, in addition to the fact that he would have never been considered a national leader had not the civil rights movement made Georgia a place that it was okay to be from. Had not the civil rights movement given us all a legacy and a platform for which we can stand and build, my grandfather would have never been close to being the president. And he acknowledged that in the speech. But the other bond, I think, is this. My grandfather's from a little town. And 600 people, as he called it, I think he said an isolated community called Archery, Georgia. But you go to Plains, Georgia today, it's hours from the interstate. There's 600 people there. Folks in Albany look at Plains like it's the middle of nowhere. Folks in Atlanta look at Albany like it's the middle of nowhere. And folks in New York or Washington look at Georgia like, oh, those people don't know what they're doing. There's a lot of levels of disrespect sometimes that come at those places. And the remarkable thing about the Carter Center, my grandfather mentioned 80 million doses of treatments on health issues. But the people who deliver those doses are people who live in the communities. And when my grandfather walks into a tiny village in Mali, which is a country in West Africa, West Central Africa really, or when he walks into a tiny village in Western Ethiopia or Southern Sudan or Nigeria, he doesn't see a place where you send pity. He sees a place that is full of people like him in these little tiny villages like he came from, and he looks at that place and sees real power. And that's frankly the same thing that Dr. King saw when you talk about impoverished parts of Birmingham, Alabama that have been saddled with the political discrimination of segregation and Jim Crow. He didn't look at that and say, we need to help these people. He looked at it and said, these people are powerful. And that idea, I believe, is what has motivated my grandfather. It's what has made them peacemakers. It's what has motivated and used, Dr. King was the voice. He was the leader, but the people who marched, he wasn't by himself. It was every single person that came from neighborhoods like this. They all started out in 3rd grade at one point. They all started out doing the things that they knew they could do, and recognizing that power in regular people, I think, is the real bond that these two men have, and I think it's the lesson that the rest of us can draw from. So I'm honored to be a part of this. I'm excited for this exhibit. I'll tell you, for my family to be associated with the King family, with all of the heirs that are here, to be a grandchild alongside Yolanda Renee today is a great honor for me and for the rest of us. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Wow, thank you. Wow. I'm so honored today. This is wow. This is great stuff here, you guys. Only in the Park Service can this happen. So good stuff. Now I invite to you a person that is dear to my heart, and I've known just about all of my career. I've sort of followed his path.